Hello, my name is Rinon, and patch 5.3 of Shadowbringers is coming in really soon. We're going to get to see the live letter that's going to show off some of the content to come in the next patch on July 22nd, and the patch itself has a release date of August 11 confirmed tentatively. Today, we are going to talk about some of the big things that you can do to prepare yourself for the patch as a level 80 player in order to give yourself every advantage of jumping into the content on patch day and making the most of it. I'm not just going to be covering the raiding aspects here today, because odd-numbered patches are generally referred to as catch-up patches. They have a lot of content for more casual enjoyment, such as big crafting, gathering, relic quest steps, the 24-man, things like that are going to be in this patch. The next raid tier can be expected in a few months with patch 5.4, so definitely expect a pretty varied number of things you can do to prepare effectively. One thing to note is that some of the pieces of content aren't going to be launching on August 11th. Some pieces of the content are going to be releasing a few weeks later or a month or two down the road, say with patch 5.35. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is preparing your currencies in advance as much as you possibly can. While there aren't going to be any changes to Tomestones of Allegory, and there's not going to be a new Tomestone either, there is a high chance that there will be new crafting materials added to the purchase list from Tomestones of Phantasmagoria, so I would advise that you try to fully cap on that before the patch launches. But more importantly than that, the currently available Tomestone items are very likely to be used in crafting the new Crafter and Gatherer gear, so having a full cache of tomes is going to allow you to buy what you need immediately on patch day. While I'm not really expecting it to come in handy, one thing I do before every single patch is fully cap on Poetics. Maybe it's used for a relic step, maybe something like that, we'll see. It's also going to be very handy to make sure that you are holding onto as many sacks of nuts as possible, wink wink nudge nudge. Crystalline Coat, Twine and Glaze, which until now have only been available from Eden Savage. That will become available for the Hunt currency, and from this point onwards, hunts are by far the fastest and most consistent way to access them. If you want to gear alt classes, this is a massive boon for you. If you're going to be tackling the new crafting and gathering gear, new materials are likely to become available for scripts. And for even those who don't plan on crafting, you can sell them for a really high price on patch day. So I also make sure to cap myself on script for both crafter and gatherer, so that on patch day I can get a little bit of a head start and it'll save me a bit of gil in the long run. Two more currencies that are definitely less important but you should bear in mind are MGP and GC seals. There is a solid chance that sometime in the near future there's going to be a new mount from MGP, and let's be real, everyone wants the fucking new thing. Similarly, I don't really anticipate massive value from GC seals, but they're always handy to have, and sometimes there is an item that is worth a lot of gil or is used in a current craft. It's just nice to have them. The next step is to make sure that you have completed all of the necessary prerequisites for unlocking the content in 5.3. Most of it is going to be self-explanatory and you'll have likely done it already, but there can absolutely be some surprises that catch you off guard. You definitely don't want to spend hours unlocking content come patch day when all of your friends are doing the new stuff. First up is to make sure that you have the MSQ completed up until the Echoes of a Fallen Star quest, which is the finale of patch 5.2. This is going to allow you to continue the main scenario immediately on patch day, which should also lead you to unlocks of the new dungeon and the secret new primal encounter, which is almost certainly going to be a part of the main story. Next up is to make sure that you are able to access the new Yorha 24-man raid ASAP. If you have the old raid, the copied factory, already completed, please double check and teleport over to Tomra regardless. There are a handful of new quests added in the Yorha raid series in patch 5.2. and while a duty didn't accompany them, it's almost certain that completing them is going to be a prereq for the new 24-man. So if you haven't completed them, go do them now. If you haven't unlocked this 24-man, make sure you go ahead and finish that quest chain first. For the resistance weapons, which is this expansion's iteration of the relic quest, you want to make sure that you already possess the relic that you wish to progress on in your armory chest. These eye level 485 weapons can easily be purchased from Zlatan in Gangos for 1000 poetics apiece, aka 4 Thavnaran scale powder. This is after you've completed the prerequisite relic quests. For these prerequisites, you need to finish the Stormblood 24-man quest chain, including all 3 alliance raids, and then you can pick up the quest chain from Kaiten in Kugane. We are also going to be receiving a new beast tribe in patch 5.3, and we can definitely predict that it's going to be focused on crafting. This is likely to be revealed in the live letter, so I'll drop it in the description when the live letter has actually happened, but I'm expecting the Dwarves of Calusia to be the new beast tribe. That's the most likely option. Generally, the beast tribes require you to complete a number of side quests in their zone in order to unlock. So for safety, my recommendation will be to clear out all of the side quests in that zone completely, aka in Calusia. While I'm a little less certain on this, I'd also recommend you unlock Shiva Extreme, aka Ak Afar Amphitheater. If you haven't already, you can get that from Mordona by talking to the Wandering Minstrel. This is just in case the new Shiva Unreal fight requires you to have the original Shiva Extreme unlocked to enter. The next thing that you have to do is make sure that your item level is high enough. Make sure that the classes that you want to play in the new content are at the expected required item level for the upcoming content. If you've taken a break from the game, if you're swapping your main class, or if you're still playing catch up, this is one that could potentially catch you out. For the new 24-man raid in the Nier series, I'd expect that a minimum item level requirement of 465 will be needed to enter. For the Extreme Primal in the 5.3 main story, we can expect a minimum item level of 480 to enter if it follows the same eye level requirements as Stormblood Extreme Primals. I'm expecting that 480 is going to be the highest eye level requirement from this patch. So I would say that as a combat class, you should try to ensure that you're at item level 480 or higher, and that should allow you to access all of the new content immediately. The next one is to stack up on coins, and I'm actually not talking about gil here. I'm instead talking about manufactured coins which are given for completion of the new Shadowbringers Alliance raid, the copied factory, which we got in 5.1. The new 24-man raid will give a new coin item, but you're going to need one of each in order to exchange them for upgrade items. If you remember the coat, twine and glaze that I mentioned earlier in the video that's available from hunts, well, the 24-man is going to give them too. Every manufactured coin that you keep stocked now will mean one less time you need to run the old Alliance raid come patch 5.3. This next one is totally up to your own discretion, but if you're as excited as I am to try out the new Unreal content hitting with Shiva in patch 5.3, it might be a good idea to jump into the original fight with a pre-made group and get a little bit of fight preparation done. If you attempt it synced or even at minimum item level, the fight is unlikely to be identical to the new Unreal fight, but it's going to give you a really good understanding of the core mechanics of Shiva, which is going to give you a brilliant foundation to build on in the new fight. This is going to allow you to progress through Shiva Unreal so much more quickly and efficiently than you would otherwise, especially if you didn't do the piece of content when it first came out in A Realm Reborn. This is by no means essential, but personally, for me at least, I like to do the little things that I can to aid in my understanding of new content, especially when it's raiding content, and this definitely fits the bill. Next up is to ensure that you stockpile materia. New crafter and gatherer gear will be released with patch 5.3, and we can expect that this gear is going to remain best in slot for the rest of the expansion. As a result, you're going to be getting a solid year of use from these pieces of gear, and that makes them massive in value and one of the best chances of getting a good return on your investment. But one thing to bear in mind is that you not only need to obtain this new gear, but you also need to meld it in order to produce or macro craft the new recipes easily with it. You're going to want to stock up on crafting and gathering materia in massive quantities in order to get as much of a head start as possible on pentamelding. There are a multitude of ways that you can stockpile these materia. Either you can do the lazy thing like I do, which is to pick them up from the market board when prices fluctuate downwards, or you can buy them through currencies such as scripts or through spirit bonding and desynth. Whichever your chosen method, I try to stockpile a couple of dozen of each of the Materia 8 and a lot more than a couple of dozen of each of the Materia 7s. Lower tier materia such as 6s and 5s can also come in handy for budget melds, and I often use budget melds myself. They still allow you to reach the required stats and they don't break the bank quite as much. The last thing I want to talk about today is which materials you should try to prepare in advance. I think this is one of the most important things to consider if you intend on raking in the gil early into patch 4.3, or if you want to build towards your crafter and gatherer gear ASAP. First of all, the Tombstone of Phantasmagoria materials that I mentioned earlier will almost certainly be used, so having a good number of these hidden away in the depths of your inventory is going to result in some quick cash, or you can use them towards your own gear. Items such as the workbench resin, the dwarven chromite, the tempest adhesive, aka the ones that cost 20 tomestones at the moment, these are the ones that I'm hoarding. Time Warns and Your Skin maps are also absolutely worth keeping in large quantities. We can expect to see at the very least a couple of new item additions that are going to be worth bang, or more importantly, glamour in the first few weeks. You can also keep the base crafted materials that were used to craft the I-480 Neo-Ishgardian gear. That would also be worth keeping in case they come into play, items such as the Cobalt Alloy Ingot, the Merbau Lumber and the Purpia Bead. These could be useful as well. On top of this, any leveling items that you predict might maybe be used for the crafts releasing soon. If you want to take a risk and stock up on them, maybe you can strike it big. One last thing you can do if you're extra dedicated is the day before patch, after the collectible turn-in's daily reset has happened. You can check which item will be the turn-in for patch day, and then you can mass craft a lot of the collectibles the night before, have a full inventory of them and turn them in immediately when the servers come up on 5.3mus. I hope that some of these prep tips were a little bit handy. If they were, I'd absolutely love it if you'd leave a like on the video, and if you'd like to see more kinds of stuff like this, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. That really helps me out. Of course, a lot of these prep tips are based on speculation and based on previous patch cycles, so there's definitely a chance some of them will be incorrect or I'm missing things as well. So if there's things I'm missing, I'd love it if you would leave it in the description so that other people can be helped out by it. On top of this, these are all optional. Just do the ones that you see fit and leave the ones that you aren't too bothered about. Thank you very much for watching and have a lovely day.